Hey everyone, it's Desiree. So I am here with installment 3. Remember, we are taking the junk journal journey together on not specifically this journal, but again, I had shown it. All of the previous videos will be linked down below. May have a few of them up at the top on either side, but if you're curious. But again, it was just something that I do enjoy making these. And people did want to see the process. So I'm literally going to take you step by step. So this series is going to be probably a long one because I will be breaking this down. So in section 3, what we've already done so far is we've talked about papers, the papers that you can use, papers where you can find them. Anything that you're looking for, and if you are a scrapbooker or a card maker, and if you've got those 12 by 12 pieces of pattern paper, they can certainly go in here as well, whether they're the cardstock or the paper weight. So again, use what you have if you're interested, or use what's available in your local dollar stores if you have them near you, or your local Goodwills. So they are some great finds and have some great products there or items that you can use. So far, again, we've talked about papers. We've talked about choosing our papers and putting them in a layer type thing. And of course, I have this upside down. Yes, I do. You know, putting them in a specific layer. We've created our cover. We've lined it with our pattern paper, and again, even though you're gluing it, it's going to buckle a little bit, and I'm okay with that. To me, I think it adds to it. I don't know if you can see that there. If I turn it just a little bit, I kind of like it. I enjoy it. I do like to sew around my edges twice, and purposely, intentionally not being even, making it zigzaggy and wonky. Now, if you've seen my videos before with card making, you know I love the wonky die. So I specifically do that here. So, and I just use a craft cardstock for my outsides, and then I line that, I glue it, sew around it. So I do like to have sewing elements in my junk journal. That does not mean you have to. So we've chosen our papers. I've got some coffee dyed. I showed the hinge in the previous, and you can see that I sew down on those hinges. So I've got some book pages in here. I've got some regular old-fashioned teacher style notebook papers. I've got tracing paper that you can use. It's the cheapest option. A big old envelope. This is actually drawing paper, and you can see what we're going to be talking about in this one are edges. How you can decorate these pages before we sew our signature together. You want to manipulate these papers while they're separate for the most part. So if you're going to do any sewing, you want to try to do that before you put your signature, sew it together, because then it keeps the stress off of the inside. Although I've used to sew them together and then did my sewing on these pages after the signature was sewn, and I've never had a problem. And let me tell you what, this thing would get bent all over the place because, let's be honest, I would forget. That's why I would do it afterwards. So, you know, just total transparency here. So I did sew this lace down. You don't have to. So I'm going to show you a way that you don't have to sew your lace down. Of course, that's with glue. You just see the stitching on the other side. Again, I like to keep my papers in a specific order. I've got my music sheet, and I'm actually going to replace this one. Saw a couple other things that you can use that I just want to bring out. This is old accounting paper that's coffee dyed. Here's another hinge that's sewn. I sew on the edges of this pocket that will be created because this is our center, so I did sew on each of those sides. Again, you do not have to, and I will be able to show you the way you can get stitches without using a sewing machine. Yeah, it's awesome. Yes. So again, we're just going to page through. I put a piece of fabric here, folded over, used my pinking shears just to give it, you know, some texture, sewed down the side of it, and it will stick out a little bit. So again, you can see that I've done some sewing, but not, you know, all of the pages. There's just certain areas that I do. So what other papers could you real quick use? This is Ivory copy paper by, and I'm turning back looking, this is by Hammermill. Now, you're probably looking at this and saying, okay, Des, that's a little bit bigger. It is larger than an 8.5 by 11 because remember, our pages for this are cut 8 1/4 by 10. Okay, or 9.5. I forget what it is. I'll put that down there. It's in the previous video. So I want to keep it this length. This is an 8.5 by, and I just want to real quick, I'll quick flip this up, by 14, just to make sure. I can keep it this length because what you can do with your papers are fold them. This is another way that you can embellish the side of your papers if you don't want to waste it. And sometimes I am in that. So I'm going to flip this up so I can see my ruler here, or my grid for my, on my board here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up. And what I'm going to do is, I know that my papers sit, and just to confirm, if I pull these out and grab a ruler, these are cut 8 1/4 by 10. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this side up. I'm going to take this side up actually, and you'll see why, but you don't have to. Let's go with this side. Yeah, I'm confusing. Sorry. And I'm going to fold it right at the 5-inch line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to make that even, and I'm going to fold it. No special tools. We're just using a grid. You can use pencil marks to know where you're going to fold, and that's fine. So now we have this. I'm going to grab my bone folder, or excuse me, paper creaser, because it's not really a bone folder. And now I'm going to move this over, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this side, knowing, and lift this now that I know it's on my line, knowing that I've got to fold it here. I'm just going to create a fold. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can come in a little bit more, which I want it to do. So it's going to be less than the 5-inch mark. That's okay. It just means the paper is set at a different width, and that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this one out, and then I'm going to push this and just fold this in again, just before that original fold here. And then I'm just going to fold that down with my finger, go down with my paper creaser, fold that up, and now close this. Now what we need to do, we're still at 8.5, so I'm going to real quick pull out my paper trimmer as I make that obnoxious loud noise, so sorry. And I'm going to cut the 1/4 inch off, because remember, we want these to be 8 1/4. These are already set at 8.5, so I'm just going to cut off that 1/4 inch. So now we have another insert. So what I want to do, I do want to replace one of my music sheets, and I'm actually going to replace this one. So I'll be able to use it for another project. I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to put this in here. So it'll line up, and now I'll be able to put that in here. And then what I do is I just like to hug it just a little bit to get everything straight. I'm not worried about everything being the same inside, but the bigger pieces, I do like them to be even as best as I can. So then when I set it in here, it's going to sit in there. Okay, so we have our papers. All right. So again, I did some of the sewing that we'll go through, but I'm going to show you what you can do on the edges of your paper if you don't have or want to use a sewing machine. There's all kinds of different textures that you can create. It can be through your stencils. Now, here's a great edge that's sitting right here. So what I could do is take this, I can line this up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off so my other pages don't get affected. But again, I really want to keep the order that I've got there. It's just one of my quirks. And let's put my paper back down below so that I don't get crazy here because I'm going to be inking. Alright, so if I take this and then I'm going to pull in my Distress ink, or it can be archival, whichever one you want, and I'm just going to set that here. I'm going to set it down, and I'm just going to tap. Just like we do in our other paper crafting. So I'm doing kind of a dual role here, believe it or not. I'm inking the edge of this music paper, and at the same time I'm creating an edge on my paper. Again, just your ink, and you simply teared this paper. Now of course we must do it to the other side. So again, if I wanted to, I could just come down a little bit, and for you card makers, we do this to make clouds, right? Why can't we do it in here? So I'm just going to come down. I'm going to go from the paper onto my page that's going in my junk journal. And what that does is it created a second section. So I've got those two different colors that are sitting there. Gives it just a little bit dimension. So that's one thing that we can do to embellish our pages. Let me pull up this ruler here. All right, so I know this is my first one. So let's say, do we want to do something here? I'm going to put this back in so that I can page through. Because remember, this will continue to expand this way as you keep on doing things to your edges if you're adding lace or anything like that, which is fine. But you want to keep that in mind, and you don't have to do something on every edge because we can do different things. So it's almost as if you page through it, and oh, I don't like that up there, so let's move that down just a little bit. Okay, here we go. There we go. That looks nicer. So when I come over to this side, it's missing something. It needs something. So remember, I said, if you don't want to use a sewing machine, or maybe you're not comfortable with a sewing machine, I found a wonderful, and it's a stamp set, but again, it gives you an option, and I'm paging through it here, and I found it. So it's a wonderful option, and of course, it's by Stampers Anonymous, but look at these awesome stitch lines that we can add to our pages. Yes, that one and that one are my favorite. Yes, you knew that, right? So all you would have to do, and I'm going to do this one over here. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to find my acrylic block here. Hopefully this one will fit. Let's see. It's good enough. Nothing has to be perfect here. I'm going to ink up my image. Again, you can use your vintage photo or archival. I do like the vintage photo in the Distress ink, and I like the potting soil in the archival. So this is pretty flat, so I really don't have to take it out, but I'm going to fold it down onto its side, and I'm just going to stamp. You could get closer to your edge if you want, whatever you want to do. And look, you got a stitch line. I think this is just so cool. When I saw this, I don't know how I came across it, but I thought it was perfect because, again, not everybody wants to sew. Not everybody, wants to have that investment, but I think this looks great. I love it. And plus, if it's in your stash, we're using our stash, and that's what makes this all sorts of perfect. So I'm just going to continue to flip here. Again, I did sew a piece of lace down on this side, but I'm going to show you how you can get lace or material in your junk journals. You can also just simply ink your edges. Just by inking these edges of your pages that are sticking out, will add some dimension. Now I do like to do both sides when I do that. So we'll just go there and give it just a little bit of texture there. So for this one, we can either stamp, or we can set something up here. So what we can do, here's a piece of cheesecloth. You can use that. I also like to use tulle, so you'll see that in another video. But let's grab a piece of fabric, you know, in case you've got some spare fabrics. Yes, I'm walking away. Hold on. I used to be a sewer. I still am. I just sew different things now. So I have a problem. I can never get rid of anything. It's a horrible thing. And the things that I liked to collect when I sewed were, I don't know if you know these, they're called jelly rolls, or cake. They're like 8x8 or 10x10 pieces of fabric. Those are the things that I get now for my projects. But just having something just like this, and what you can do is, if we fold it over just a little bit, we can put this down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my glue. So I either use 3-in-1 or I use the Fabri-Tac by Beacon. It is an alcohol base. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on the bottom of this. There is an odor with this glue. I like to say it will clear out the nose if you have a cold, so you know that's an awesome thing. I'm just going to let the fold hang over just a little bit, and I'm going to press down. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to put a line, a bead at the bottom, because you can create a pocket. Even with fabric, you can create a pocket. So I just went down along here and up here a little bit. I'm going to use that fold that I have, because again, adds interest, hanging out. And I'm just going to press that down. Now, you can use your fingers for this. But you just want to make sure that you've got a good attachment there, good adhesion. And then what I can do is I'll grab a piece of cardstock here. We'll just tear that. And then you can see we've created a pocket. Glue, fabric, you can also do that with paper. You don't have to use fabric. It's just another textile to use. So here's that new sheet of Ivory copy paper. I got this ream. It was very inexpensive. I got it on Amazon, and I will link it down below. 500 sheets. This will last you forever. Only because you're not using and filling up your entire junk journal with this paper. So 500 sheets will last you an extremely long time, which is wonderful. So looking through here, the other thing that we can do, and I think I'm going to do it on this, I do suggest always keeping your cap on this glue as well, because it is alcohol, is you can use stencils. You know, if you have a collection of stencils, you know, by all means, you can use them. Anything that you're looking for. So I'm just going to take this. This is just a print. And I'm going to put that here up in the corner. And I'm just going to pounce a little bit. And I'm going to have it come down on the side. So it's only going to be in the corner. So again, just by doing that, you've created a corner embellishment. And then we can continue through here. This I'm going to leave alone. And we're going to come through. We've done this. So here is that other piece or the other side, I should say, of the copy paper. So here what we've created is a flip that we can embellish at a later time. So you can do that too, just simply folding them out. It'll just come out and be part of the page. So here we have our fabric strip here. And then here's another coffee stained. So I think for this one, I would just want to add a little strip of lace. And I think I'm actually going to add it to the top. So this is the lace that I have. Again, you just need very small amounts. And I'm just going to cut a piece. Whoop, not with my pinking shears, wrong ones. Just going to cut a piece. And this looks pretty white, but let's say this is the only lace that you have. That's fine. Grab that ink and just pounce on it. Now you've changed the color of your lace. I've made it an ivory. That's all you need to do. So again, I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to put a bead along here from end to end. And I'm going to stick this on here, making sure that it does stick up a little bit. You know, let that, you know, let things come out and let them shoot out and all of that fun stuff. You can do some really, really interesting techniques and everything else with that. I'm going to ink up these edges because you all knew I was going to do that. So yeah, sorry, this is going to be another long video. Just thinking maybe, we could get them shorter, but I know the next one will be, because we'll focus in on a certain type of embellishment for the inside of your junk journal. We'll do something special for this. I don't like to stamp on my tracing paper. I don't think it sticks well. It can rub off. But I do want to put another stamp on here because I really do like this set. Now please, you all knew that that was going to happen, right? Okay. So I love this one. I think this one's absolutely adorable. Link it up. And let's see, yes, I want that to go there. So again, I'm flat here. I'm okay. I don't have to take the page out. I'm going to get closer to the edge. And I'm just going to make sure I press down. And now I've got that sew line going along there. So those are our pages. I think that's all that I'm going to do. I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to slide these here. I'm going to move some stuff out of my way, and I'm going to put this into my book. Now, to hold this all together, I do like to use clips, very large clips, and these are the ones I use them when I'm doing my art journals to hold the pages down. But I just, on the edge, just keep that right there. It just holds the papers together, because what I want to do now is I want to create my template to sew my signature together. So let me gather up those and I'll be right back. This way the video won't be so long. Be right back. So when you think I'm coming back sewing the signature, we're going to change our mind on this. So I'm actually going to do a second video. I have the footage. It's going to come right out right after this. So it's going to be part 3A. So if I kept these together, this is close to an hour because, let's face it, I gab. All right, so stay tuned for part 3A, where I focus on sewing on the signature. I hope everyone's having a great day. Remember, subscribe, ring the bell. There's going to be more coming to this series. Take care.